like we just outgrew each other. Shoot, I mean, what you want from me? What do you want from me? Like, what do you want from me? Everything. What's up, suckers, and welcome back to Everything Courtney. Y'all back again with another Transparency Please video. Yes, we are back live in action. This topic has been on my mind for a few, and I'm so excited to get to share with y'all. While doing it, you know your girl like to eat, so I'm going to be eating me some seafood. We can call it a mukbang. I just call it getting down today. Okay, let me tell you what I got. I have 2 snow crab clusters, a ½ pound of shrimp, and a ½ pound of crawfish with some potatoes and corn. Now, I normally don't eat all my potatoes and corn. I give it to Taylor, but we're gonna see what happens. All right, first, let me say my grace. Thank you, Lord, for my receive. Let me nourish to my body, purify. In Jesus' name we do pray, amen. So for today's Transparency Please topic, it is outgrowing friends. Bada bing, bada boop. I'm gonna be talking about my experience of outgrowing friends because it happens. I want to talk about this topic because I feel like a lot of times we get in a season of change and getting closer to God, and oftentimes that requires us to have to cut off some people, and it's not an easy process. It sucks to have to cut off people that you've grown bonds with and that you're close to and all that stuff. One of the first things you have to do is define your friendship anyways. Sometimes we are so easy to call people a friend, and the whole time we should be defining them as our associates. And I learned that. I learned that not everybody has to be a friend. Not everybody deserves the title of friend. I feel like being a friend is a sacred thing that we have overused within society and, you know, within life. And it doesn't carry the same weight. Like, Jesus talks about us being his friend in the Bible. So clearly a friendship is something important and we shouldn't take lightly. But oftentimes we do. I think about how many times I just met someone and then I introduce them to someone else, and it's like, oh, this is my friend, such and such. In our reality, no, they ain't. She is my friend. He is not my friend. But I was saying it. But I'm like, looking back, it's like, why was I so quick to call somebody my friend who wasn't my friend? And I feel like that's something we have to be okay with as people, is not calling everybody that. And I don't understand why people sometimes get so defensive about it, because do you really feel like they're your friend too? If we're being honest, asking the other person, do you really feel like I'm your friend? I don't know you enough to be my friend. Yeah, you can click with you can click with some people faster, and you can feel like that bond, like you know them all your life, but you still have to be careful and get to know and take heed, you know what I'm saying? So, not to seem rude or nothing, but just being honest. When my life changed, so did my circle. Okay, so once God started working on me and he started transforming me and started doing his thing, y'all, put that thing down, flipped it, and reversed it on me. Okay, he did it, rightfully so, because A, it needed to be done, but B, I prayed for it. I prayed that God would reveal and remove in my life, and boy, did he. You know, and sometimes we pray that prayer expecting the exception of some, but that's not how God works. God is a God of totality. He's going to do it completely. He don't do any of his work half done. So when I prayed it, he did it just how I asked. Y'all know me, I don't eat these, but I felt it in my spirit today. Yep. And so, you know, I did pray that prayer, and he started changing things. He started revealing things to me, things that wasn't even worth conversing about. It was just like, okay, that's you, God. Like, it's no point. There was no point in it. And so one of the greatest experiences I have of that is when I moved to LA. I moved to LA with one of my best friends of 10 years. Even when we were younger, we all talked about how we we're gonna move to LA and yada yada yada, live a certain life together, do all these things together. And then within the first year, God was like, cut all that out. And it was like, wait a minute, God, what you doing? He was working, is what he was doing. And it sucks because, you know, you have these expectations with certain people and you don't want to put your life down, but when it comes down to the will of God, sometimes it does require you to dismiss some people out of your life that you never intended to. And it was a thing of, well, you're going to do it my way or your way, because every time we tried to fix it, it just got worse. And so it was like, okay, God, at this point, I have to acknowledge what you told me. Like, you answered my prayers, and here I am trying to renege on it. It's like, that's not how it works. And so I realized that we were best friends to each other for who we were at that point, but who we were becoming, we had outgrew each other, and that's okay. Sometimes we don't want to admit that, but you do outgrow people. And it's not to say that you feel like you're better than them or they're better than you or anything like that. It's just that we were a perfect match then because we were either one and the same in many ways, or, you know, it just for whatever reason worked. But now who I'm becoming, I need a different type of friendship. I need, outgrowing each other is okay, guys. Like, it doesn't have to be this horrible experience, but it can be if you try to hold on too long. And that's why I always say be careful what you pray for, because that wasn't my first time praying that prayer. I had actually prayed that prayer in college. I had started noticing some things and just started feeling some things, and I was like, Lord, you know what, these ain't my friends, reveal it to me. And then God took them all away. I mean, like, every last one of them. It was a point in my life where I felt like I had like one friend or nobody, almost, you know. And I was like, God, that's not what I meant. And it was around the time my grandmother had died, so I'm like, Lord, this is when I need friends the most. What I should have paid attention to was him trying to show me that I needed him more than I needed them. But like I said before, the person I was then wasn't the person I am now, and so I needed people around, or I felt like I needed the people around to make me feel better. The whole time I just needed to lean on my source. So it definitely wasn't the first time I prayed that prayer. It was just the first time that I actually took heed to it. Now, this next point is very important because I've been experiencing and noticing more so within the last few years as my circle has been changing. Girls can feel like you're being fake to those who aren't growing with you. Throughout being in LA and visiting and things like that, I noticed some of the people that I was hanging out with that we just didn't completely mesh as well anymore. Like the conversations and things they want to talk about, the things they want to do, I no longer wanted to do. And at first I'm like, I don't know why it's like weird or why it's uncomfortable. And then I had the, you know, revelation that you were just simply outgrowing them. And it can be hard to outgrow those people, especially the ones you've known so long, the people who were a part of their prominent years of your life up to now, you know, like my friends from college and all the good times we had. It's like, oh, no, we can't be outgrowing each other. We can all grow together, but ultimately you really don't. And it can suck to feel like you're the person who's going apart from them, not saying like, oh, I'm better than you, or I'm more mature than you, but then at the same time, it's like, but the stuff y'all do and the stuff y'all talk about, I don't want to do and I don't want to talk about. I've started noticing that some of the people that I was hanging around, the things they wanted to do, the things they want to talk about, the stuff they wanted to reminisce on, I'm like, you know, this probably isn't healthy for me to do. And I would do it in the moment because it was like, oh, that's my girl, that's my home dog or whatever. But I started being real with myself, and even back then I had started defining people for who they really were in my life. I may be a friend to you, but to me you're just an associate because, you know, either I noticed something or something was revealed to me or someone told me something and it was like, well, you know, that's crazy because I've been praying about that, and then here this go. And it's like, you know, I don't have to throw you away completely and be rude and nasty to you, but you just know everything doesn't warrant a response. That's just where I was at that point. I had just noticed that I was just outgrowing people, so I stopped hanging out with them as much. And not that I had an issue with them, it was just simply we had nothing to talk about, we had nothing to be in common with. And if people start being honest, you will honestly see that with some of the people that you no longer hang around with. It's like, you know what, we just outgrew each other. Like, not everything is about being fake or phony, it's just simply growth. A lot of times the people who have the most problem with you growing and maturing be the same ones posting the memes about outgrowing people and it's okay. It's always okay until you the person that they outgrew, you know? And I noticed that too. And it's like, well, you ain't walking what you're talking. Walk it like you talking. Like, come on now. We just outgrew each other. Shoot, I mean, what you want from me? What do you want from me? Like, what do you want from me? And another thing with outgrowing some people who aren't receptive of it, you have to be ready for the backstabbing. I've been backstabbed by people who I thought I was close with or I was cool with. Even people who wasn't necessarily my closest friends, but maybe they thought they were still, and just completely turned on me. I mean dirty turned on me. First of all, a lot of the ways that I found out stuff was because the people they called friends told me. And it's like, that's something you gotta be careful of too, like who they associate themselves with. And it's like, well, you consider her a friend and you saying this about them to me, so I know y'all talk about me. Or even those people who bring back the bones from the conversation they had with somebody who don't like you, and it's like, y'all talked that long about me and you didn't have nothing to say to defend me? Like, you just sat there and collected all them bones and didn't think to beat them upside the head with one? No? I mean, okay, friend. So even the Bible talks about it in 1 Peter 4:4. Of course, your former friends are surprised when you no longer plunge into the food of wild and destructive things they do. So they slander you. But remember that they will have to face God, who will judge everyone, both the living and the dead. The time that this happened to me, when I found out about it, I sat there puzzled for a second, like, wait, huh? Because when it comes down to slander, people will throw in facts and they will throw in lies. And it was the lies that got me. You know, it was like, wait a minute, what? But upon hearing it, I literally just sat there at my kitchen table and just started laughing. And I knew within that moment that I was changing, that I was growing. Because the old me, set it off. Start a riot. Start a riot. That wasn't even the first thought that came to my mind. It was just like, wait, who? Said what? And that's how it felt. And I was like, okay, I mean, I thought we was cool, but that's cool too. I mean, okay, you know, it sucks, but whatever. For whatever reason you had to do that, that's between you and God, and I'm gonna just leave it at that. And I didn't respond to it. You know, your response is what's key. Is on being better and growing, and I don't have time to respond to stuff like that. Like, for what? Me responding doesn't change anything, what you said, how you felt. And I'm trying to get to this bag. I cannot be responding to foolishness. I just cannot. Because if you're doing it now, the more successful you get, you will continue to respond to foolishness, and you will feel like you have to, and that alone will drive you crazy. I am not about to be driven crazy by stuff people say about me. Like, people talk about Jesus. Do you think for a minute they're not gonna talk about me? No. So what I look like responding to everything. Like, all I can do is what I did, and that was pray. I prayed for them. I prayed for people who had something negative to say, including family. Like, people think you don't know what they say, but you do. So you just pray for them and you go. And you ain't no different. Because for what? Most times people do stuff like that because they want to provoke an emotion from you outside of your character. I'm changing. You're not gonna prove me to be anything different than what I am. I'm a child of God. I'm gonna respond as such. I am human. I do error, but you're not gonna get me out of character. I will be slow to anger and sin not. And that was just that. I had people around me who were actually my friends who were more upset about it than I was. I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna respond to that foolishness. Like, I worked too hard to get where I am to let that cause me to be the person I used to be. Like, I worked too hard not to be that girl no more. I'm a woman. I'm a lady. And also the next thing I want to say is, sometimes it's an indicator that you've outgrown people is the conversations you have. If the only things that you guys have to talk about is memories and things y'all used to do, then it might be time to kind of loosen the reins and, you know, get you some more friends. Yeah. Especially when the memories aren't memories that you should be dwelling on. You know, you got a life before being saved. College was lit. Turn up, turn up, hey, turn up. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with about good times, but sometimes you have to really be real with yourself where those good times take your mind. Because we can start off by talking about this, but we know what happened because of that. And it's like, well, I probably shouldn't be thinking about that because, or I shouldn't be listening to that song because, yeah, we had fun. I also know what we really mean when we hear that song. We being honest. You're being nasty half the time to begin with. I've learned even more so recently about talking about old times. Certain things are okay to talk about, but when it comes down to things that's going to cause me to have sinful thoughts or like even just pondering on things I shouldn't, I have to stop having those conversations. And if I find that's the only thing me and the person have to talk about, then, you know, bye-bye. You gotta kind of, I'll fall back from you. And you can't get upset with me. I mean, especially if we're not close enough for me to have to explain that to you. I just feel like people are so entitled to conversations that don't have to be had. Like, we ain't there anyway. Why we trying to act like something we ain't, you know? I'm just saying. Like some juicy shrimp. So letting go and growing apart isn't easy, but once I was no longer a servant but I became a friend of Christ, it changes how I view friendships, because the things that Jesus would be willing to do for me, has done for me, the way he has my back, the way he has my best interest, you have to have those kind of people around you. And if you don't, then you're really not in good company. And it's sometimes best to just go ahead and change your circle. And it is okay that you aren't friends with people from high school. It's okay that some of them you're only associates with. I've known people since middle school, and all we say to each other is, you know, hey, bye, or the occasional Snapchats. And that's okay. I don't have to be buddy-buddy with everybody. I don't have to be in everybody's life like to the same extent that I am with my closest friends, and that is okay. I don't need a whole plethora of friends. Being in LA, I learned a lot that people sometimes call everybody a friend just to have people around for events and for the pictures and to look like your life is just so lit, and the whole time they be miserable or they be putting on the front because they be fake. First of all, they fake. Not everybody, but I'm just saying, like, I've seen stuff like that, and it's like, well, why do you continuously call them your friend if you feel that way about them, or you see them do that to you, or you don't even like them? It's like weird, but you know, that's Hollywood for you. But I look at my life from even like high school to now, whether it is people who I was close with then, we try to fix those type of friendships and they end bad, and it just ends up being more pain than repair, because I've tried to make amends with people who were super close to me, and it blew up in my face. And you know, for whatever reasons, we were going through different things, and like I said, we were in different stages of our lives. So what they had going on and what I had going on, on top of trying to mend the friendship that God had already ordained to be over, and so it was just a lot. And so I just encourage y'all to really consider who your friend is, and if you need help with that, I would definitely recommend you get Dr. Darius Daniels' book. He's a great man of God. His sermons are always amazing, but he has his book called Relational Intelligence. I had mentioned before in one of my old videos, but it is so good with breaking down people into their correct categories. And I'm actually going to start the book over again because I want to get a refresh, and I just encourage you to get it so you can start placing people in the correct places. And I just pray that you continue to grow, and that God will place the right people in your life who you need to help you be better. And just like he said in his book, you don't owe them access to your life, you just owe them love. Stay strong out there, y'all. Be mindful of the company you keep, and I pray that God continues to bless you, y'all. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is concluding another Transparency Please video, and I pray that we continue to grow together, love together, and be transparent together. I love you guys. Bye. See you in a second, suckers.